Special call CRA meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Suarez.
Here.
Cohen.
Here.
Reddick. Capine. Miranda.
Here.
Vieira.
Here.
And Maniscalco.
Here. All right. First go to public comment. Anybody in the public wish to speak on any matter on the agenda? Yeah. Anybody? What do you wish to speak, sir? Please state your name for the record as you approach.
Sure. It's Lauren Shepard with the David A. Strands Jr. Center for the Performing Arts as the Chief Operating Officer. It's good to see you all again this morning. I'm here because I believe there's going to be an item in front of you this morning regarding the demolition of the library to help realize the Air Tower roadway plan. And I spoke to you last week with some optimism on a number of items, having met with Bob McDonough just prior to speaking with you, and was encouraged by some progress that we were making. But a week later now, having received some written responses, I do have concerns about the components that inure to the Straz Center, and I'm here to seek your advice. I'm not really sure where to go. It doesn't seem to be a process for me to get assurances, written assurances, for items like our arrival plaza. Verbally, it's been approved that our arrival plaza can be extended in the manner that we want it to. In fact, we're actually very pleased with some recommendations that Rob Rosner made in terms of that design. But I've not received anything in writing to say that. I've just heard a verbal. It's been a week. I don't know how difficult it is. I've provided the drawing that we would like approved. Hasn't come back to me. There are some other aspects to this process that confuse me. When I provided a long list of items that, not long, but maybe 10, 15 items that we want attended to that have been spoken about before, the response came back, well, these are city items and these are developer items. So we knock on the door of the developer, and the developer responds. There's not a unified approach to this. There doesn't seem to be an entity that's taking control of the whole project. It's divvied up between parties. That's difficult for us. It's confusing and a curiosity for me. The other thing is in looking hard at the legal documents that govern this project, the Fourth Amendment of the lease, and I think you're going to be, perhaps the next council will be presented the Fifth Amendment, indicates that prior to closing, the roadway plans and arrival plaza expansion have to be approved, signed off, and agreed upon, and then a clock starts about 45 days till closing. It's there primarily to protect our interests and to protect the interests of the developer. I'm not certain that's happened. So as we move towards closing, I'm here to express my concerns, seek your advice. You know, this project will probably bring ad valorem to the amount of maybe $1 million a year, which is wonderful. I mean, I think it's we love all that's going on. We're not standing here to object to this project. We want this project to go forward with the things that we feel we need to get, and I don't know how to get them if I don't get good, clear communication in a timely manner as this moves forward. The center itself for many years has had a value, and a documented value, of $100 million a year in economic impact. So, you know, let's take the first 5 years and put that aside. If we look at 20 to 25 years of $100 million a year, year after year, an improvement every year after year, where's the respect for that value? Who's writing my documents? Who's making sure that we go forward? Again, the important thing I want to say to you is we're not here to obstruct. We're looking for a partnership, as we've enjoyed many years with the city of Tampa, to bring the things forward to a favorable conclusion for the Straz Center. Things like our marquee is going to be taken down off of the cross bridge. The replacement or movement of that is dispute now between me and the developer. The city's not stepping in to defend me or help me or to contest the developer. They're just leaving it between us. And, you know,
Well,
these things.
we have Mr. McDonough here who's
Sure.
coming up with we have the resolution, but if Mr. McDonough, could you address any of his concerns or any questions that he did mention?
We're here to we're here to partner.
Please remember that we are wearing our CRA hats at this moment, whereas a lot of the concerns raised with that's on the back of the decision we made today. Most of the concerns expressed would be addressed to you sitting as city council or to the administration, which is basically the one which is negotiating any agreements out here. I just wanted to.
All right, well, thank you very much.
You bet. I know that you're going to vote on, you have the opportunity to vote on something today that can move this project forward. I'd ask you to take into consideration how I can possibly get what we feel we've been promised. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Would anybody else like to speak at this time? All right, seeing none, we will move on to some required approvals. Item number 1, Downtown Non-Core Community Redevelopment Agency Program Change. Mr. McDonough.
Good morning, Bob McDonough, Economic Development. What we're asking for this morning is the approval of funding which will allow the demolition of the bridge and the annex to the John F. Germany Library, which will allow the straightening of McGinnis. I'm going to show you a plan that was originally, if you look, this is existing condition right now, and you can see that McGinnis runs right into the library annex. The original plans that were developed for this project did not have a straight shot for McGinnis. It was actually I'm blowing this up. The roadway had a curve in it, and the City of Tampa engineers, transportation engineers said, you know, if you're going to do this, and we're going to do this for the next 25 or 30 years, let's do it correctly. And so the proposal is to remove the annex and to have McGinnis go straight through to complete the road network. And that's what the funding would be for. This would be part of a escrow agreement where Kimmons Construction would do the work, and they're a well-known contractor that does a lot of work for the city, and would allow us to do complete the road network in that area.
Councilman Gomes.
Well, I guess my major first question is, this is really, to Mr. Martine's point, different from what Mr. Shepherd was referring to in terms of the issues that are of concern to him.
That's accurate.
So my question then is, on his behalf, to his question, when is the appropriate time for him for those issues to be addressed? It may not be as part of this vote here, but when is it and under what circumstances?
Council's going to be asked to consider some documents this evening in tonight's meeting, and they can be addressed right then. Just as a brief rebuke of what was stated was that there has been a laundry list of requests. Many of them had to do with road design, which the City of Tampa, their engineers, has the final say on, not a real estate developer. And so I have responded in writing to all of those. The only thing I have not responded to in writing is the final approval by the administration for the widening or increase of size of their arrival plaza. And part of that would be tied to these new road networks and how it functions, which we'll certainly be willing to do. As far as some of the other things that were discussed, I can say that originally the request was to move the sign. And in the developer's proposal back to the Straws, they said yes, they talked to their sign company, and we'll move the sign at a cost of $33,500, if I remember the number. Subsequently, the Straws said, you know, we would prefer a new sign with a maintenance agreement, which was considerably more expensive. Another outstanding issue is a crosswalk, which goes across Tyler Street, which the developer said, we'll build a crosswalk, as you asked. Came back as, we would like a crosswalk that is wider than the 13 feet that you proposed, 17 feet, and we would like it structurally engineered to be able to hold a sign. And if you do something like that, the engineers are saying that you would have to go ahead and put a pylon down into the middle of Tyler Street, which would not be acceptable to the transportation department, plus it would be considerably more expensive. So those are two of the outstanding issues that I'm aware of, that the scope of what was being asked of the developer has changed. And these conversations can take place between this morning and this evening.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like those are issues that could be dealt with today, right?
Hopefully, yes.
Okay.
There seems to be a little impasse because some of the requests, at least for me being a third party, seems to be a moving target. That
Excuse me, what? I'm
a
sorry.
moving target,
Oh, okay.
that something is agreed upon and then an enhancement is asked for.
Okay, so, but just to be clear, you are going to be bringing this to us tonight.
That's correct.
Okay, so, and tonight really is our last bite at the
I
apple.
understand, because you've lived with this for a long time.
So-
You're an educated party.
Okay, anybody else?
I just want to say that, I've heard now about the marquee, I've heard now about the expansion. I even had a very quick conversation, and I don't know who's right and who's wrong. I don't know what the apprehension is all about, but we don't form contracts. We either approve contracts or not approve contracts. But the contract department, as I understand it, is all with the administration regarding a sale of a property, a building or something, and then between the two parties to come together and understand what it is. And that being said, whatever was said in the past, on either side, on the Strat side or the developer side, then they have to understand that whatever they said is how I'm going to vote. If they vote, they didn't come, they understood what they had, this was a sign, and I don't know what the problem is after moving the sign, and one or new sign that, I don't know. No, I'm not here to debate. Then I heard about trees. Well, they could knock down trees, we can't knock trees. I don't know that to be a fact. I don't know what kind of trees there were. I don't know if they were the same species of trees. And that was when we were in the heat of the development of the tree ordinance. So I'm just saying, I'm sitting back and watching and saying, wow, if you're third party, we're fifth party. Because you guys are in it all the time, we're not. We don't know what they said or didn't say. We don't know exactly what was the said and what was the, and shame on both of them if they didn't have anything in writing as they're going along. Because at the end, we're going to be the responsible party for saying yay or nay on a contract. And that puts us in a position like we should be in at the end as the elected officials who make that decision. But they have to come together. I don't want to see any side get hurt, but whatever they agree to, that's how I'm going to vote in the past. If they change their mind, sorry on them, on either side. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, anybody else? Councilman Suarez.
Mr. McDonough, let's go back to, I'm going to follow the line of thinking that Mr. Miranda's talking about. The original project was not cutting into where the annex was, correct? Because we were going to move it. Now, I know that we have really good engineers, and obviously they can't do anything unless it's in a straight line, obviously. I'm just curious, what was the original intent for that particular piece of property when we did this deal? Because I think it was 2013 when we first started this discussion, I think. I'm not sure.
2008, actually.
Before I was here, of course, that was
Yes, sir.
different. But I mean, when we made the initial agreement to sell
Yes.
a portion of our land in order for this development to go forward, I think it was 2013. I may be wrong. But if I recall correctly, there was no discussion about using the annex land for any purposes at all at that time. Now, I may be wrong. I just want to make sure I'm right about that.
That's correct.
So, and I want to understand why, and I know what you said in terms of the engineering portion of it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I just want to tell you, because we made a deal in 2013 that didn't have the problem with that. Now all of a sudden it's a problem.
No, it's
What
not.
was, well,
Excuse me.
no, I just want to make sure I get this right.
Right.
What was the plan originally to do with the annex anyway? I mean, because obviously we were going to have an annex. there must have been some thought process, either from your department or somebody else in the administration that said, you know what, we're gonna have this land over here, what are we gonna do with this after this other project gets built?
Originally, the annex was, continued to be occupied. It was not determined to be surplus by the county until after that point.
Okay, so you've answered one of my questions, which is, when did we know that we could use that for something other
Right.
than what the current use is?
Right.
Okay.
And actually, as this conversation goes on, the county is looking at the John F. Germany Library itself. And what's interesting is that the city owns that property.
Right.
And we owned it originally, and then there was a special act by the state legislature regarding libraries, that they became operated by the counties, and thus they were able to get state funding. And so that's how this is where it is.
You're going on to my next question,
Yes,
which
sir.
is the library itself. You mentioned the special act.
Yes, sir.
And this is all hearsay that I'm gonna tell you now, so I don't know if it's true.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna believe you, not really, but I'm gonna listen to you at least.
Yes, sir.
That the library itself cannot be changed. It has to continue to be as a library. Is that correct, that land, or no?
No, sir.
Okay, so now that's an anecdote that was told to me that is not a true statement, meaning that we can do something with that land in conjunction with the county because we still own it. Is that correct?
If the county determined that they no longer needed to operate a library there, then there would be a reversion of the property to the city.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
that's what I was thinking. So actually, that goes along the same lines of what I was just mentioning, which is if the county decides to no longer have a library at that location, then it reverts back to us. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So back to the original part of the annex. I was wondering why we were doing this now with the annex. You explained part of that. I still don't understand why the road has to be changed. I think that because now that we have the opportunity,
Right.
and I told you this privately, so I'm not saying anything out of school, I think.
Right.
Now that we have that opportunity, we should be able to take advantage of that opportunity as a separate project, whether it's the city that does it in conjunction with another developer or some other project, looking down the line to where the library is going to be and or what's going to happen with that. We know that the library itself is an anachronism. Unfortunately, the way that everything's going, places where people gather versus places where people actually get books are not necessarily the same places anymore. And I think that we need to recognize that and eventually find some other way of dealing with that property, downsizing or doing something else with it. But if we do this deal, does it have an effect on the rest of the other properties that are associated with it? And again, the Performing Arts Center is, one piece of this, which I think Mr. Cohen said it, I think Mr. Martin said it, which is that we're not gonna deal with that particular issue right now. Mr. Miranda said it properly, which is we had an agreement back in whenever.
Right.
We need to figure that out. So I'm more hesitant in dealing with the annex portion of it and changing the roadway, only because that is not what we agreed to the first time in 2013. Different issues, of course, but I mean, I'm having a little bit of heartburn there. The other part of it is that the annex bridge, not because of the signage, but because it was agreed to from the Friends of the Library, that was a big issue at that time. And how's that going to be solved, or if it is going to be solved? And I think that we're not looking at the whole thing together. We're just looking at the one piece. And even though I'm not going to be on council next week or in years coming, I think it's important that we have that discussion. And it doesn't mean that I want to stop this project. I don't. I think that I voted for it the first time. I still want it to go forward. But I do think that there's some issues that, come to a larger sense of what we're going to do with the rest of that property. Because I'd rather see it be a bigger project than a smaller project, if you get what I'm saying.
I do.
And I'm not sure where to go with this. I think that maybe tonight we're going to have to get some more answers based on some of the issues that were brought up from the Performing Arts Center, but also in terms of the roadway and some other issues that we might want to ask about.
I can tell you the remainder parcel is more than 2 acres.
Right.
An average downtown block is less than an acre.
Right.
So the remainder parcel is a significant piece of land for development purposes.
Yeah.
But what this does is improves the street grid in a model that we want. If you remember, they were conflicting pairs, north and south, and now we have improved the street grid. And it's an opportunity to do it correctly as opposed to having a chicane in it. A lot of traffic right there, a lot of visitors to the straws.
Yeah.
This is to perfect the road network.
Yeah. No, I agree. And actually, I've used that cut through on there all the time without permission. which goes under the, which goes next to the annex and under the
Right.
bridge. Nobody ever said no, but so I used to use it all the time. So I can understand why that's an important piece to all this. So, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Councilman?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing to what was said earlier, and that is related to tonight, and this is to Mr. Shepherd's comment about what's in writing or what isn't in writing.
Right.
Whatever gets said tonight on the record, as far as I'm concerned, is in writing, because it's part of the sworn record of this proceeding.
Correct.
So it would be wonderful if, in the interim between now and tonight, these last few issues could be worked out. But if they need to be talked through, that discussion is actually going to then be part of the record of this case.
Understand.
All right, anybody else? No? All right. We have the resolution. Can I get a motion to move that resolution?
I'm sorry.
Was that a motion from Councilman Suarez?
No, I'm saying, all I said was who's going to move it, because, you know, the resolution itself is just to fund the demolition of the current annex, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
All right, it doesn't do anything else, and I want to make sure I'm correct about that. Mr. Martin, you've seen this?
I backed this.
I was going to say, I didn't want to say it.
I have more than seen it, and,
I want to make sure that that is the only function that it has right now.
thing this does is create a contribution agreement directly between the CRA and the developer to allow an additional amount of tip funding for the demolition of the annex and the, basically rehabilitation of the remaining structure.
It's a release of funds in order for that demolition and that rehabilitation. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure we're straight about it. I mean, I have no problem with that portion of it. I think the other issues have to come up
I
later
think
on
that's
today,
right.
so I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Councilman Suarez with a second from Councilman Cohen. Any discussion on that motion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, motion passes with,
And Clerk, did you get all that, or was there a question? No, sir, we were voting on the resolution. I believe that we passed the,
It's number two.
number one. I think we passed number one, did we
no,
not,
no,
Chair?
let's do a vote. On number one, can I get a motion to approve
So
that?
moved.
We have a
Second.
motion from Councilman Cohen with a second from Councilman Suarez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so both are approved. All right, we go to information reports and new business by CRA members. Councilman Vieira. Councilman Miranda. Councilwoman Capino.
Nothing, sir.
Councilman Reddick. Councilman.
No, thank you.
Councilman Suarez.
Only one thing, sir, and I think this is for the people that are going to continue after next week, and those new members, like Councilman-elect Citro that's in here now, which is to be very cognizant of what the legislature is going to do with CRAs. And I think that it's an incumbent on all of you that sit as elected officials after this week to continue to work with the legislature to make sure they understand why CRAs are important to building the city, and we need active participation from the board to our legislators to make sure that they understand that. And that doesn't necessarily mean getting involved with the Suncoast League of Cities, the Florida League of Cities, or even the National League of Cities. But I do think it's incredibly important that you reach out to your legislators, not the people that you know, but the people that are involved in those committees that control our future from the CRA side. It is the most important thing that we do individually as a board, as opposed to everything else. And I think that you all have to have a bigger role in making sure that that is done. As someone that's always advocated and gone to Tallahassee to advocate about these issues, I think it's really important that you continue to go forward. I'll do it from the private sector, but I think that it is really incumbent on all of you all to keep pushing this forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, that's it. We are adjourned. Motion to receive and file. We have a motion from Councilman Moreno with a second from Councilman Cohen. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. 6 o'clock this evening.